Hello, everyone. I'm Luis Vargas here with Andrew Beckstrom, and we've got the Eternal World Championships this weekend. We'll be broadcasting today and tomorrow as these 16 players play for $100,000 in prizes, and we'll be kicking that off really soon. But first, Andrew, go ahead and tell us how this tournament is structured.
Yeah, so these 16 players have qualified through this tournament over the past 6 months by playing in our Eternal Championship qualifiers, some additional tournaments like the ETS Community Championships, and we're excited to have them all here today. And what you're going to be seeing is a tournament over 2 days. The goal for today is we're going to be determining the first of our two top four finalists. How are we going to do that? Well, we have our players situated in a single elimination 16-person bracket. What's going to happen is we're going to play a couple of rounds. We'll be showing you as much of the action as possible, jumping in and out of matches. When we get down to our final four players left after that single elimination, we'll be showing you back-to-back matches that are going to determine finalist spots. Those matches will be best of 5. The matches leading up to it, best of 3. So we're going to try to make sure we get to give you as much action as possible since the stakes are so high. Those players will come back later tomorrow afternoon on Sunday. We'll come back tomorrow morning on Sunday to do another bracket where we'll determine the final two finalist spots.
So this bracket, single elimination today, but if you lose today, you get to come back tomorrow. You have another shot to make top 4.
Absolutely. And the advantage if you do well today but don't quite clinch that finalist spot is you'll get a bye in that bracket tomorrow. Since it'll only be 14 players in that bracket tomorrow, we need 2 players to have a bye. The 2 players who lost their win-in, so to speak, for that top 4, they'll get a bye in that second bracket tomorrow morning.
Right. So this is kind of like a modified double elimination. If you do end up losing twice, you are out, but you have 2 different single limb brackets that you get to compete in order to make it. Plus, as you said, the better you do today, the better position you're in tomorrow, even if you don't quite make it.
Yep. And every match that determines the top 4 slot will be best of 5, and every match in the top 4 will be best of 5. We want to make sure that we give the players ample opportunity to demonstrate their skill. We've got 16 of the best Eternal players in the world. We want to see what they can do.
Definitely, and we're very much looking forward to that. We're, of course, going to be showing you their deck lists as we go through the tournament. We're going to have this bracket, and we'll display that as that updates. But before we get into that, we've got a couple cool announcements. The first is Organized Play will be returning in August. So, the World is not it's the end of this season, but our next season is going to be starting in August. More details to come on that. We also have a pretty big presence at Gen Con. And so anyone who's thinking about going to Gen Con, it's a great place you can pre-order Eternal Chronicles of the Throne. It's an Eternal deck building game, a physical game. Which is a lot of fun, by the way. You can pick it up there. We're going to be displaying, all the products that we have available. You can pick up Oathbreaker there too. That's the Game of Thrones social deduction game. And, we're really excited about all this stuff that's coming out. You can actually pre-order Chronicles of the Throne now. And, that delivery is the street date's going to be sometime in September.
And while Eternal Chronicles of the Throne is its own game, it's a deck building game, it is not a sort of physical port of the Eternal digital game.
Correct.
There are still some pretty sweet bonuses for the Eternal digital game when you pre-order the Eternal deck builder game. You get a Curiox totem, you get a free draft ticket, and when you actually get the game, there will be some more goodies inside for you then. So if you're a fan of Eternal, I think you'll enjoy the game a lot. I've gotten to play the game quite a bit, and I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah, it's a great deck builder, and I love deck builders, so it's been a lot of fun to play. Speaking of Eternal content, we also have releases coming soon, so there's going to be more content. We're trying a different type of content, so we're not going to be seeing a campaign in between these 2 sets, but we're gonna be seeing something else. So
yes, new cards are on their way. They're coming. You got a few weeks left to go before that comes out, and we're not going to exactly tell the details about how we're going to be releasing these new cards, but it's going to be something new and different, and we're hoping you're up for this experiment. I think it's going to be pretty sweet, so hopefully you guys are excited to check that out in a couple weeks.
Yep. All right, while we wait for the players to get ready, let's go ahead and talk about some of the decks, because we've got, a pretty strong Rakano presence. That's definitely the headliner here. But there are a number of decks that are designed to prey on Rakano as well. What about this Invoke the Waystones combo deck?
Yeah, so the field is kind of bifurcated. There's definitely a bunch of Rakano, and then we have 7 other unique archetypes among our top 16 players. And Diogo combo is definitely the most exciting one. So this is a wacky deck that combines Diogo Malaga Elons, I hope I'm pronouncing that right,
yeah, sure.
with Invoke the Waystones. And you basically give your Invoke the Waystones Destiny, and then you just go off. You get to play almost your entire deck with Invoke the Waystones because every time you play Invoke the Waystones, it draws another copy with Destiny. It keeps chaining off. And what do you do when you get to the end point there?
Well, you play a quarter of your deck, because 3/4 of your deck gets milled by Invoke the Waystones.
Right. Yes, and it's actually kind of good for you that a bunch of your deck is getting discarded, because the win condition for the deck is you go into your market and you pull out Stonescar Excavator.
Kaboom.
And even if you played a lot of Eternal, you might not be intimately familiar with what Stonescar Excavator does. It's a weird one. You get to discard, it's a relic that discards a power card and then deals damage to the enemy player equal to the number of power cards in your void. So the fact that your deck is mostly power and you've been discarding a ton of cards from your deck totally plays into your advantage, and typically you'll just nug them for around 30.
Yeah, that will do the trick. And that deck, its best and potentially only good matchup seems to be Rakano, getting some field reports there. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how much Rakano that deck gets to play against. Though it looks like its first round is Rakano, but then it plays the winner of two tough matchups.
Yeah, so the winner in sort of that little group is going to play against either Huru Value, played by Manu S, who sort of progenited the Stonescar deck that people are really a fan of these days, versus a FTP Peaks deck, a Genève Peaks deck. The Huru deck is pretty sweet. Luis, are you interested in a deck that gets to play with Herald Song, Honor of Claws, Privilege of Rank, Unstable Form?
All I'm saying is Jotun Hurler got nerfed for a reason, and it was my favorite card for a really long time. Still is, even though, even if in a slightly weaker spot.
The way I describe this deck is that it draws extra cards, and those extra cards draw you extra cards when you draw them.
Yeah, and it eventually does something. But that part's less important. And then, of course, Genève Peaks, the kind of the classic mid-range value deck, and kind of like, I would say its popularity peaked a little while ago, kind of like Andrew's, but it's still a contender, I would say.
Yeah, that deck is pretty solid. If it manages to get paired up against the Diogo combo deck, watch out, because it has 3 copies of Swift Refusal that negates a non-fast spell, and Invoke the Waystones is not a fast spell, so that could be a tough time. But we'll see. But first up, they got Manu S on Huru.
Yeah. Any other decks that you've been keeping an eye on here?
Reanimator seems like a totally reasonable option this weekend. We have one Reanimator player in the field, and sort of it's a clash of titans. That's going to be Rakano Valkyries in round 1 up against them, trying to put out Giant Valkyries, and the Reanimator deck trying to not really pay full cost for their cards. They're going to be putting out VAR as Azindo revealed. You've probably seen it before. And you know what? The Rakano Valkyries players, they are playing a lot of Justice Merchants and Smugglers, but none of them brought Adjudicators Gavel, so they are definitely susceptible this weekend.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the advantage you get by metagaming well. If you see Adjudicator's Galva, you're like, well, this card should make it so Reanimator's not that good, but then no one's playing it because no one's playing Reanimator. It's a cycle, and then eventually you get there. Alrighty, it looks like the game's ready, so let's head down to our first game of our Eternal World Championship. Alrighty, welcome to round 1 here, Eternal Worlds. Andrew Beckstrom's handsomer than I remember him. We've got Popo Tito facing off against Manu S, and this is the Genève Peaks against Huru Value matchup that we were kind of talking about.
Yeah, so you see Manu S has got a lot of value-generating cards right now in Gust Rider and Unstable Form, Honor of Claws. Definitely missing power, and unfortunately we're seeing the downside of Warp. He drew a Siditi that he knew was coming.
Yeah, it's not that Warp made that worse, except for the fact that you just know it's coming, so it does actually feel a bit worse. Popo Tito getting on the board here. Well, mostly just playing power and drawing extra cards, but that does mean a lot in this kind of matchup.
So critically, Manu S hits a power. They're really hoping to hit one more so they can play the Honor Clause in their hand. On the other side, the Genève Peaks player, things are progressing. They get out of Sandstorm Titan, not that early on turn 5, but it's looking pretty good here.
Another Siditi hanging out here.
Ooh, Manu S has a tough choice. They elect not to Unstable Form the Sandstorm Titan because right now Sandstorm Titan is not defianceable because it has Endurance. They can't stun it, so they're going to get beat up a little bit here.
Yeah, Manu S is almost getting locked into taking 10 from that Sandstorm Titan by passing the turn there, because next turn they're undoubtedly going to play Honor of Claws, and I think that the Peaks there is going to make it so this is a really difficult game for Manu S to win, though that Harsh Rule could help a bit.
Yeah, they've got a real short window here to be able to play that Harsh Rule, because Sandstorm Titan's a 2-turn clock. And, all right. So they draw the Huru banner, they get to play that depleted next turn, and then they'll have the Harsh Rule.
All right. Popo Tito, certainly aware that Harsh Rule is in the making here. I think that they're likely going to be playing with that in mind.
And brutally for Popetito, they don't have 3 time. They see a Heart of the Vault on top of their deck, but they can't play it.
Yeah, that it does always feel like justice when you can't play Heart of the Vault because you're playing your 3-faction triple deck.
Caleb Reborn, though, looks like it's going to come out of Howling Peak because I don't see any way Manuas is going to be able to pressure that Howling Peak. It's going to emerge next turn.
And Jotun Hurler, the all-star here, hitting the board, and yeah, Manuas now has a few more options.
So Manuas has been doing a great job of drawing extra cards, but yeah, these are not the sort of the impactful ways that he wants to be doing it. He wants to get that Whispering Wind down early so we can turn those extra Cliffside Porters and Snowballs into more valuable removal and threats and card draw.
Oh wow, it just runs out the Gust Rider. Had been holding on to that one for a while here.
Yeah, interesting that Manuas ran out a Gust Rider before running out the Cliffside Porters, but it's possible that all of them are just going to come down here. Wow. Well, I guess the Jotun Hurler is no longer insulated from the Hailstorm. I was about to say that's a great draw.
Still, Hailstorm could basically take out Whispering Wind. That's the critical one, though Permafrost could do that as well.
So Popetito has 3 removal cards in hand and 2 Permafrost and a Snowball that could just clear out this board to let the Jotun Hurler get in. But man, these are not the most impressive of units to be firing things off like that.
Yeah, I would rather not Permafrost a Cliffside Porter if I could avoid it.
So Popetito evaluating the options, still missing that 3rd time influence, so those Heart of the Vaults are not playable at the moment.
Basically, Popetito has to decide how many removal spells to use and whether or not to use Caleb's ultimate here. It's possible that you could just fire that off and cash in a hand of cards you're not playing for something that you could.
Yeah, the ultimate definitely looks attractive. I think if you're a Popetito, it's a question of how many removal effects you want to fire off sort of before you pitch your hand, because it's nice to just have some cheap 1 cost removal to just clean up this board a little bit so your bigger units can just get in without getting chumped.
All right, in comes the Jotun Hurler. Cliffside Porter will carry that burden. And yeah, it's just kind of rough to just do nothing this turn.
Yeah, I think if I'm Popetito, I go Permafrost on Whispering Wind and then just ditch the rest to Caleb's ultimate. Instead, we're going to see just a single Hailstorm. It'll clean up both flying units. Unfortunately, it does also remove the Jotun Hurler before Popetito fires off that Caleb ultimate. Putting all of the cards in their hand back into their deck, and then they draw that many cards +1.
All right, and that hit quite a few cards, especially since 2 copies of Show means that two more treasures show up.
A Defiance for Manuas is all right. They already had one, and that would be able to stun the Caleb. Instead, they're just going to drop Siditi and hope that it can stabilize the board on its own. But man, against a hand of, what, 8 or 9 cards now? That seems pretty hard. So Popetito can go into their market here. Do they have a removal effect that they can grab that can just remove the Siditi from sort of blocking this turn?
All right, well, here comes Aurelian Merchant. Yep, and Equivocate being the choice here, followed by a Treasure Trove, and then, well, there's a Permafrost as well. So, a lot of options on Popetito's side.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to just actually Equivocate out the Siditi instead of Permafrosting it, so Koryavat Palace can't give the Siditi endurance and break that stun.
Manuas might go for the harsh rule here, decides, no, I just can't beat a handful of 7 cards and enough power to deploy all of them.
And Manuas didn't know part of what they were up against thanks to the treasures that got cracked. They knew that there were Zoes in hand, so it does seem pretty reasonable to sort of want to move on and get on to game 2. So, yeah, things didn't really go according to plan there for Manuas. Definitely had some issues with power development early, and it stopped them from being able to sort of have the time to get their value chain going.
Yeah, and that's the kind of deck, too, that when you stall on power, it's exceptionally punishing because the deck has fewer big comeback cards and more cards that are trying to gain incremental value. You just don't have time to cast a bunch of strategizes in Honor of Claws when you're getting pressured and you're behind.
And I think critically, the threat from Popetito was Sandstorm Titan. Sandstorm Titan not being able to be Defiance that even stunned for 2 attacks was huge because that's such a good way for Manuas to be able to make up tempo against bigger threats when they don't have exactly the right removal.
Yep. All right, game is ready, so let's head back down. Much more proactive hand from Manuas here. Whereas Popotito deciding to mulligan that hand, and ooh, this hand does not look better.
It definitely doesn't look better, and I could even see them going down to 6, but looks like Popotito's going to keep it. They weren't too impressed with the speed that Manu S came out with in Game 1, so I'm guessing they figure they've got the time to sort of use the treasures and the Aurelian Merchant to fix what they've got going on.
Here, Warp is a clear advantage because you can just go ahead and scout that one to the bottom.
Yeah, it definitely seems reasonable. On the other side, Manu S has got that sort of turn 2 Hojan. Nothing in hand to help it renown and get it rolling, but it'll still be bashing for 4 and gaining Manu S some extra health.
And also setting up onslaught cards as well.
Yep, 2 onslaught units in hand in the Rhyme Conclave Smuggler and the Gust Rider.
Well, 3 technically, because there's 2 Rhyme Conclave Smugglers.
Another Zhou off the top gives Popotito a little more extra material to work with, but they're really just digging for undepleted power right now so that they can start to deploy these cards in an efficient manner. And yeah, a Fire Sigil off the top is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's just always so punishing when you're playing the Genetic Peaks deck and both your first power enter depleted, because you have a lot of 2-cost, strategizes and treasure trove cycling stuff that you really want to get rid of. So Manu S is taking the advantage or the initiative to play this Gust Rider here instead of a potentially more power efficient play of playing the Smuggler, because that onslaught is so much more powerful on the Gust Rider.
Yeah. And Popotito deciding they want to keep developing their power. They're not going to fire off Display of Instinct on Hojan, instead just deploying Aurelian Merchant so that they can continue to ramp up to their bigger cards.
Also of note, Manu S did draw Privilege of Rank last turn, which I think is probably what prompted that Gust Rider. Without that, maybe the Smuggler comes out.
Yeah, very nifty little combo.
Do you think he knew about the combo when he started the tournament? Or it just was like a pleasant surprise when he was playing?
I think Manu S knows his way around a Privilege of Rank. He's a very experienced player.
That's true, that's true. Alright, so Aurelian Merchant still digging, and Popotito deciding between maybe interaction or, yep, just a power.
Yeah, Popotito has 2 different power in their market just so they can help smooth things out. On the other side, we see Manu S drawing a crest, seeing a Primal Sigil, that goes away, and we'll get to see a nice little attack for 5, gaining another 4 thanks to Hojan's lifesteal. And now Manu S will have a Smuggler decision of their own.
Yeah, do you put away the Harsh Rule or one of the power? Seems like the most relevant choices. Depends. If you want to pick up Koryavat Palace, then you might want to just keep both of your power here. And you're so far ahead that Harsh Rule, really isn't as appealing as it normally would be.
Such a high percentage of Popotito's units are vanquishable that I think it's pretty safe to throw away the Harsh Roll, because you'll probably have whatever comes down covered with that Vanquish. So on the other side, Popotito will have the choice, looks to me this turn, between play Display of Instinct or Sandstorm Titan. Sandstorm Titan's definitely higher upside, and that it'll hold down the whole board, and Display of Instinct is just guaranteed it'll at least kill something.
Well, Sandstorm Titan comes down, is likely to be vanquished here. And then thanks to the Aegis on the Rhyme Conclave Smuggler, really you don't feel like you're overextending by playing multiples out.
Yeah, definitely a nice spot. We saw a Hailstorm from Popotito, so that's something that Manu S is going to have on their mind in each of these games.
And here we see Manu S's deck putting a lot of pressure on with these like assorted dorks that gained an advantage. I guess Hojan is the only one who hasn't paid back the card. And still ending up in a spot with a lot of good options in hand, which is kind of how the deck is designed to play.
Right. So here, Manu S, I think, might just take the turn down the guaranteed value of Privilege of Rank, just keep that 6 Justice Sigils so they know they can play their Koryavat Palace next turn. The real question is, what do they want to get out of the market? It looks like Pristine Light. That's a pretty nice option.
Yeah, good against a deck full of gigantic monsters.
Yeah, and you can even do some cool tricks where you can sort of like attack into them and then use it to rebuy one of your key cards' play effects.
Well, Warped Heart of the Vault, always a nice pickup here. Takes down the Hojan. Manu S doesn't actually have a ton of threats right now that can get through, but could use that Pristine Light, and in fact is going to, it looks like. Just the play that you suggested.
Yeah, so what Manu S is thinking, I believe, is that they don't want to use the Koryavat Palace and withstand on something before they Pristine Light. They want to be able to Pristine Light first, then pump up their units big enough that a Pristine Light would kill it.
So Pristine Light takes out the Heart of the Vault brings back the Smuggler, which is a pretty big advantage for Mono S, because now you can trade in this Herald Song for potentially something like a Stormhalt Knife. Maybe go big with the Martyr's Chain, so that's plenty in the future.
You know, you might go back and just get the Privilege of Right. Now that you picked up a Herald Song, that's pretty good.
That is not a crazy play to do.
Yeah, Martyr's Chains was nerfed a little bit back up to 9, so Mono S is still a bit of ways away from getting that one rolling. Though it is excellent once it does in this matchup.
And this is a high-stakes game for both these players. Mono S down a game here, feeling like all of his decisions matter so much.
Wow. So we see Martyr's Chains coming out of the market, and actually, what a pickup for Popotito and Swift Refusal. Can start negating some spells that aren't fast. But you know what? I'm pretty sure both Withstand and Wisdom of the Elders are both fast spells. I believe Sack the City is the only one on Koryavat Palace's agenda that is not a fast spell.
Well, that makes that Swift Refusal not quite as effective as it would be. And here comes another Merchant and picking up a Zalchicha.
So Mono S is going to have quite a decision this turn about how best to deploy this palace, where they want to apply the Withstand. Do they want to just Wisdom the Elders and try to hit power for the Martyr's Chains?
Looks like Withstand is going to hit one of the Smugglers, making it a force to be reckoned with.
And we see Mono S just going face. They're going to ignore the Howling Peak for the time being. With both of their units having Aegis, it seems like they're not as concerned about the potential gun down that could be coming.
Another Zoe for Popotito, and alright, at this point the Jeanette Peaks deck is able to kind of utilize all the cards in hand. The question is, will Mono S's Koryavat Palace kind of pressure end up being able to overtake that?
Yeah, they got a bevy of options right now. Right now they're deciding which of their agenda modes they want to use. They can either Caleb's Favor or gun down a unit, and then once it gets to the rest of their turn, they can deploy a Zhou, they can deploy a Zalchi with Swift Refusal up, or do something involving Cracking Treasures plus Display of Instinct. So, bunch of interesting options for Popotito. That 7/6 Endurance Aegis Rhyme Conclave Smuggler is definitely the target of their attention, and they're trying to figure out the best way to sort of match up against it.
Yeah, playing the Zalchicha and then blocking is not too bad. Playing Show seems a little bit riskier.
I agree. And down the line, Popotito does want to have some amount of consideration for how they're going to deal with the Koryavat Palace, because, the mode of Sack the City and then the Svetya that comes down are both going to be impactful.
Looks like Caleb's Favor knocking the Aegis off of Mono S. Playing the power, playing Zalchi, and leaving up Swift Refusal. Oh, just attacking.
Yeah.
And just going straight at the palace here.
I think if you're Mono S, you probably have to let this palace go. It just sounds too brutal to just lose your 7/6 and give Popotito a bunch of Rune Stalkers.
Which are 4/4 flyers, so pretty effective blockers themselves. Mono S is falling behind here despite having a really good early start.
Yeah, Popotito's definitely showing off what the Jeanette Peaks can do once it gets up to this 8/7, 8/9 power range, because they've just been drawing so many cards and their cards are so powerful. Once they get to do 2 powerful things in a turn, it's a lot to handle.
Defiance does give Mono S a good way to delay that Zal next turn, but I think that it's going to be still a race against time here. Gust Rider helps.
And a Siditi is on top that they are going to be able to warp.
And play a Curse of Provocation here.
Man, yes. Which will really start punishing Popotito if they're not pressuring back.
So, it seems like Herald Song is an easy discard. Do you discard Seat of Order, or do you just give up on the Martyr's Chains?
It seems tough to discard Seat of Order and not Martyr's Chains. Like, you're still 3 powers away from playing the Martyr's Chains, and then you still need another power to even sort of get the Empower off of it. Not that the just normal mode is still good. And wow, yeah, Mono S is going to leave the Herald Song in hand and discard the Seat of Order.
Warp City, and then bam, Curse of Provocation. So if Popotito doesn't attack, Mono S draws a card.
And it's going to be tough for Mono S, or for Popotito, to be doing any attacks into this board. They've got a lot to deal with right now. One sort of Hail Mary line that they have available to them in their hand is using Display of Instinct to pick up a unit and gain health equal to the unit's health. So we're going to see Gun Down on Sididi. To me, that implies we're going to see Display of Instinct at the Sididi. But yeah, Popotito's going to need more than that, because even if Zalchi blocks the big Conclave Smuggler, there's still 5 coming in. Okay, that's a good start.
Yeah, Ice Bolt is a very efficient card, and at this stage in the game is, well, I was going to say the power doesn't matter that much, but actually does with that Martyr's Chains in hand.
For sure. So Popotito figuring out exactly what they want to do. They were scouting that Ice Bolt. They've got a treasure so they can draw and play it sort of immediately. So we'll see that now. And yeah, I think they're going to be able to get through the next turn. Unfortunately, yeah, they didn't attack. An Ice Bolt for Manu S.
Also, Ice Bolt having to hit a 1/1 flyer, really not where you want to be.
Definitely not.
The only good thing about this for Popotito is getting to trade off and make those Ruin Stalkers is a pretty big advantage.
Yeah, at this stage, once we trade off with that 7/6 Rhyme Conclave Smuggler, you'd rather have 2 4/4 flying bodies than the Zalchi. So this is a lethal attack by Manu S, and yep, we see the Ice Bolt going after the Gust Rider. It's the only thing with sort of without Aegis that it can hit.
Yeah, not the most powerful play in the world.
So one line that's weird that Manu S could be considering right now is Ice Bolting their big Rhyme Conclave Smuggler. It's a bit risky. It gives them extra power. It stops the Zalchi from turning into a Herald into 2 4/4s, but they're going to just kill the Zalchi instead.
That still gives Popotito these 4/4s, but it means that your 7/6 survives.
So Popotito falls down to 1, and Manu S is running a lot of Jotun Hurlers, so could be just a snowball away now.
Here comes in another Smuggler, and
Is it man, this is tough. Stormheld Knife is great. It kills a 4/4.
yeah,
Privilege of Rank is a great pairing with Herald Song, helps you get closer to the power for Martyr's Chains, and yeah, Manu S knows this is a critical, hard decision. So they're going to go for sort of the middle line, just playing the Privilege of Rank and doing it that way. Caleb finally comes down. This is close.
Popotito needs to either play one blocker or deal with one attacker to survive, and that Curse of Provocation is really doing work here. When you're at 37 and they're at 1, they really don't want to be attacking you, but you drawing 2 cards a turn is a pretty big downside for them.
And you saw Popotito initially select one of their 4/4s as an attacker before they realized, wait. It's nice to stop them from drawing cards, but maybe I don't want to die here.
Yeah. Extra card here. Wow, this Martyr's Chains is going to end up doing something this game.
Sure looks like it.
And perhaps that was one of the reasons Manu S wanted to keep the 7/6 around. It gets doubled pretty nicely with Martyr's Chains.
Yeah, really tough to deal with. And all those Hojin attacks that Manu S did early on in the game are really paying off nicely, because at 37, there is little hope for Popotito to erase what's going on here.
Manu S floods the board, filling up 2 more units, and oh wow, Howling Peak Smuggler, that is a good one.
Yeah, there's probably some good options
No
there.
Torrential Downpour, though. That would have been a sick one to go get.
So the juiciest options are, looks like Caleb's Choice, which can kill the Martyr's Chains, though Manu S does have a Face Aegis right now. Equivocate, which combined with something else could deal with the giant Rhyme Conclave Smuggler, or just keep that value train going and go and get another Zhou.
Well, I was going to say, Popotito does need to affect the board somehow, but Sandstorm Titan does do that.
So Manu S queuing up an attack. How aggressive are they going to be with this Zhou Ultimate?
I kind of think it would just pick off maybe 1 or 2 1-health units. Oh, they're just going to go for it. Kill the Whispering Wind as well. This leaves Popotito with enough blockers to survive. Oh,
Wow.
Ice Bolt off the top, and that is going to do it. You know, Swift Refusal can't counter that Ice Bolt there. It is a fast spell, so Ruin Stalker gets out of here, and then these Rhyme Conclave Smugglers deliver lethal.
Yeah, and thanks to all those onslaughts, Aegis can't be dealt with. Beautifully done by Manu S. That was one of the cooler games I've seen in a while.
That was one of the best games we've seen all day.
Well, we're just getting started. This is just round 1. I'm excited to see if anything can top that game. Those players are going to be coming back in just a second, though. They've got game 3, and the stakes are 1 player will advance. They'll be one of the final sort of 8 players remaining. And then the other player, well, their day will be done, but they'll come back for tomorrow's sort of last chance bracket where people will be trying to qualify for the top 4.
Yeah, and neither player, of course, wants to end the day this early, especially since we both played in like single limb tournaments, right? Like, especially ones that are this high stakes, where you like amp yourself up, you get your deck ready, you tested it, you show up, you lose, you're like, what do I do with the rest of the day? So,
well, honestly, for Popotito, I hope you don't torture yourself watching that game because, man, they had a lot of tough decisions. I overall like the way they navigated the game. It just didn't kind of work out.
All right, game is up, so let's head back down. All right, and time for game 3. Both players have their hands ready to go. Popotito, no fire sources, but a torch, and then, the hailstorm is really tricky, because you can't play it on curve, because all your power enter is depleted, but it is a good way to answer a lot of Manues's earlier units, including something like this Hojan.
Yeah, tough decision. They've got some good early plays Manues can make, so the Hojan is a little bit redundant. I'll be curious to see if they actually kept that one on top.
They did, I believe.
Yep. And critically, Popotito is missing fire influence. They've got the torch, but wow, Crest of Impulse right off the top. And then once again, we see an early warp unit. Makes it pretty easy to figure out what you want to do with your scouts, huh?
Oh yeah, and Popotito did scout that crest to the top, so they were probably less surprised than you were when they drew it. But either way, it works out. They get to put the Heart of the Vault on the bottom, and then against Manues, you just can't let Whispering Wind attack you.
No. Fortunately for Manues, they do have sort of, I think, what is the best card in their deck in terms of Privilege of Rank. So many cards in their deck key off of the ability of Privilege of Rank to be playable when discarded.
Yeah, but we're going to see, is that Hojan going to get to attack? Popotito knows that Manues' deck has a lot of Onslaught units. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see Hojan eat a Permafrost here and force Manues to, if they don't draw power, to maybe run out like a Privilege of Rank into a Gust Rider, which is not the way they want Privilege of Rank to happen.
So we could see, so right now, Popotito deciding on their strategize, and we could see a funny little interaction. When you discard Privilege of Rank, you do play it, and it is a slow spell, so Swift Refusal can still negate that.
Yeah, not depending on how the Privilege gets played, it's still card disadvantage, but the fact is, countering Privilege does make Manues' deck a lot less good.
Yeah, I mean, we see right now, Manues is in desperate need of more power. They'd love to be able to start going deeper with these Crown Watch Press Gangs, these Honor of Claws. That 4th power is big for them.
Press Gang getting Gust Rider, good little bit of value there.
Seed of Wisdom comes down, and yeah, we'll see a Permafrost on that Hojan. Undepleted power? Nope.
And nothing all that pressing to get, so I think Manues is going to have to bite the bullet and maybe just play this Privilege of Rank.
Yeah, it's tough. You've got 3 cards in your hand which could potentially in the future discard the Privilege of Rank for extreme value, but if you want to hit your power drop this turn, you got to just play it. Manues is going to get a little greedy on us, though, and they're going to go into the market, putting back a Gust Rider and grabbing that Pristine Light that they know will be good against Popotito's army of giant monsters.
Manues still just wants to draw power here because there's a chance Popotito just plays Sandstorm Titan, but I guess they got burned by Pristine Light last time. I would not be surprised if Popotito instead opts to use Hailstorm or Display just to take out that Smuggler and, again, prevent Manues from getting any Onslaught action going.
You know what would be cool? If Manues were to hit a power drop and then do that sort of chump attack into a Sandstorm Titan, they could actually buy back the Hojan with the Pristine Light.
All right. Seed of Order does mean that Manu knows they're hitting their power drop this turn. Still going to play this Privilege, and I think it is going to get Swift Refusal. How do you turn that down?
Yeah, no, it seems excellent. They know that Manues missed their power drop last turn. Fortunately, Manues did draw power, so they're not going to miss it this turn. But yeah, now the pressure begins. Sandstorm Titan, the mighty 5/6, comes down.
All right, you know your top card is Sadidi. Does that give you a little bit more weight to playing Honor of Claws here?
Yeah, you also have the upside of, if you fire off Pristine Light here, you might just whiff and not get the second thing that might come down. Popotito doesn't have a second giant unit, but Manues doesn't know that, of course.
So no power off of that Honor of Claws there.
Yeah, that was a tough Honor of Claws for Manues for sure.
Popotito once again unable to warp Heart of the Vault, but uses Treasure Trove to draw it off the top anyway.
So Manues got a couple options here. They could just get Crown Watch Press Gang down, could Pristine Light away the Sandstorm Titan, or drop a pair of 2s in Hojan and Whispering Wind.
I think I'm tempted to just drop the 2s here.
Yeah.
Pristine Light has such a high ceiling, and it wouldn't surprise me if you were able to nab a second card here.
And given that you've been missing your power drops, you're behind in the game, that Pristine Light getting 2 units definitely feels like the kind of play that Mono S might need to make to win this game.
So Popotito deciding not to fire off Display of Instinct end of turn.
Yeah, interesting decision to be sure. They did draw a redundant one, so they might be cursing that a little bit, but it allowed them to fire off this one just on that Whispering Wind before any value can be accrued from it.
Yep, that plus Snowball means, once again, Mono S unable to attack.
So Popotito still potentially representing Swift Refusal, but for the most part, their Display of Instinct shields are down. Do you fire off the Pristine Light and stop the beats from coming? Because you're already at 15.
Yeah, especially if you plan on playing Sadidi over the next couple turns, then you have a lot more reason to just fire off this Pristine Light now.
And Mono S is going to be pumping a fist, seeing no Swift Refusal from Popotito there for that Pristine Light.
Howling Peak Smuggler, like I believe we're getting a banner here. Yeah, I would be surprised if that weren't the case. But Mono S not under pressure immediately, and it can maybe start deploying Sadidis or, just going for a Crown Watch Press Gang. Picking up a Gust Rider and just running out one of the Gust Riders, just really trying to get that onslaught going.
Yeah, I like that play. You really want to be able to onslaught the second one. Unfortunately, it looks like they're not going to be able to, as we see a Display of Instinct, killing the Crown Watch Press Gang, and then, a couple of options for how to kill the Gust Rider, and we'll just see a Heart of the Vault take it out. Really like the way Popotito is playing this game. They're really respecting how important Onslaught is for Mono S's deck and trying to keep the board absolutely clear whenever possible.
Well, which has been every turn so far. All right. That was an unfortunate draw for Popotito because a power would have let them play, an undepleted power would have let them play Zoe. You know, some other large unit would have let them get on the board. Instead, just trading off Heart of the Vault and probably just playing the Jotun Hurler here.
Yeah, seems like a good option. And the Swift Refusal ready to go if Mono S fires off Honor of Claws. This is backbreaking.
Oh, this is just... That Swift Refusal no longer looking like a bad draw. Swift Refusal negating Mono S's spell and basically Mono S's turn. A Snowball in the bank still to take out this Gust Rider. It feels like Mono S is going to look back later at this game and just feel like Popotito just had everything at the perfect time.
Really did.
I feel bad when he watches the replay and sees the Swift Refusal draw in the turn before.
And a 2-damage Snowball thanks to the Howling Peak Smuggler's +1 spell damage. Sadidi comes down. Is there any chance you fire with an unstable form at that Sadidi? Mono S is going to pass, hoping the 6/6 is good enough.
Well, could probably start by using Honor of Claws here.
I think Mono S is going to get into a spot. We'll see what they hit. Yeah, they're going to discard the Privilege Rank. I think we might see a Desperation Unstable form. There are some cards that cost more than Joe that are worse.
Yeah.
But it is a Gambit.
I don't think
Joe costs 8.
I don't think you can let... All right, here it goes.
Akanta is a 7/7. That's a little more dealable. You can just chump that, or you could go again and hope you hit one of the giant Bond dinosaurs that cost 10, but it doesn't really feel like a 10 drop.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 more bites at the apple here. What costs 11? There's the first flame, I think, costs... Yeah, I don't know what...
Yeah.
Whether Mono S wants to go again. The other thing Mono can do is chump, take 5, go to 3, and then try to clean up with Harsh Rule next turn. The problem is that Smuggler is going to go get Zalchi, which is going to really put Mono S in a bind here.
Yeah, that's the problem.
This is a really close game.
Yeah, what is your way out? Well, it looks like it was just passing, and we're going to go for that chump line. But it's good. You know what I think Mono S is going to need? I think they're going to need a Defiance off the top. So that way
they might just be
stun.
dead here. It depends on whether Popotito wants to play on Defiance or not. Picking up Equivocate off of that Smuggler means Popotito can just Equivocate Sadidi and go for it. Oh, Caleb's Choice actually does the trick too.
Yeah, that also works. And it's a little less risky against something like Defiance.
Yeah, so now Popotito gets to pass. Ooh.
All right.
No flyers here, so Mono S is going to have to go for this Harsh Rule. I mean, the thing is, that Smuggler, you just know they can get Caleb's Choice, so what can you do about that? Suppose you could play a Winchest Merchant, but I just don't even know if that's playing to win. The problem, of course, is that if Popotito didn't get Caleb's Choice, they got Zalchi.
Yeah.
So I think Mono's in a kind of impossible spot here.
Yeah, so if you fire off the Harsh Roll, you'll be left with 3 power. Then if you unstable form the Acantha, hit a non-flyer off of it, and play 2 Cliffside Porters, you will be able to chump your way and only go down to 1.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds like a really plausible sequence of events.
Yeah, I think Mono S is trying to figure out if there's any way they can have outs against Zalchi, Herald of War, because they know an Equivocate would have killed them if it had gotten fired off. And yeah, Zalchi seems like the harder one to beat, but Caleb's Choice is also really hard to beat here.
Oh, yeah.
So we see time running low for Mono S to make their decision on this critical turn. We see them go for the Harsh Roll.
All right, Caleb's Choice stops it.
So now Mono S has got to act pretty quickly.
Don't think...
Have they played a power this turn? Oh, Stormhalt Knife! Wow, what a great get! So they get to kill a Jotun Hurler or a Howling Peak Smuggler, chump the Acantha, and this game is rolling on. Popotito has no cards in hand. Has Mono S found a way back into this game?
Yeah, Mono S, unsurprisingly, Mono S knew his deck and market better than we did, and he played into his outs here really well. Oh, this works out basically perfectly. I mean, look, Mono's still behind. There's still a 7/7 flyer, and potentially a Sandstorm Titan, though.
Defiance, what a great draw.
All right, so Popotito chose not to play Sandstorm Titan out of fear of other harsh rules, but now Siditi's going to give Popotito a Curse of Provocation. Defiance is going to stop Acantha's Herald from attacking.
Do you drop down the Cliffside Porter? And keep in mind, Mono S is at 3. Popotito has got a bunch of direct damage in their deck.
All right, so here comes the Cliffside Porter. Pass, Fire Sigil, nothing.
And no warp on top.
Oh, man. And then you get to eat the Smuggler here, too?
Yeah.
So first you play Defiance just to make sure it resolves. Then you block, and then now Popotito kind of has to play that Sandstorm Titan.
And if you're Mono S, your heart has to be racing, and you've got to make sure you still play tight here.
There's a Vanquish.
Do you vanquish the Sandstorm Titan? Because the Acantha will be unstunned in a couple of turns.
It will. So if you vanquish the Sandstorm Titan, attack for 9, puts Popotito 13, play Jotun Hurler. Next turn you have 12 plus a Snowball, assuming Popotito doesn't draw anything next turn. Does Mono go for the win over the course of 2 turns, or play more defensively? Because if we'll say unstable.
Oh, unstable form on Crown Watch Press King. What do we hit? Psionic Savant. It's actually really good in his deck because he draws lots of extra cards, but it'll take a little while for that thing to get charged up. Do you just go again and unstable form?
I think you just go again
into a 6.
All right, Vanquish. Oh, I like it. Mono S is going for the Gusto here, playing Jotun Hurler. Unstable form on the Hurler, looking for maybe a charge unit.
World Pyre Phoenix. Is that enough for?
No, we're.
Oh my God!
There's
It's a torch!
Oh
no!
Popotito with the amazing top deck to. Oh, Mono S had to be feeling it. Mono S had this had turned the corner, had really started to come back, and then torch off the top ends his hopes and dreams.
Heartbreaking.
Oh, and I don't think Manu could have gotten 1 extra health almost anywhere. Like there wasn't a line of play that really made sense to do that. Oh, that was a pulse pounding game.
You know what? When they attacked with Stormhall Knife, they attacked down a Jotun Hurler instead of a Howling Peak Smuggler. Now the game would have played out pretty differently because they would have had a 3/3 instead of a 2/2.
Yeah.
But that was the one decision they had there.
Wow. All right. Well, we had our first victory here. Popotito defeats Mono S in a really close 2-1 match. Popotito's advancing to the top 8. Mono S is going to have to come back tomorrow for a chance at redemption.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty of more matches coming here.
But not for this round.
But not for this round. We're gonna take a short break, and we'll be back in a few.
Welcome back to coverage of the Eternal World Championships. I'm Andrew Beckstrom, joined here by Luis Scott Patrick Chapin. How are you doing today, Patrick?
Excellent. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty great. That round one really got my heart racing. And we're actually, we saw such an exciting match with Genev Peaks. We're actually going to kind of run it back in a sense because we've got this round Genev Peaks up against the deck of really the talk of the tournament all week here at Direwolf Digital, the Diogo combo deck. Patrick, what do we got coming?
Well, this is definitely a very different Fire Time Primal deck. This one notably has like 49 power cards. It's almost entirely smugglers and merchants for the purpose of assembling the Diogo Invoke the Waystones combo. I mean, they have Invoke the Waystones in the deck. Oh, this is the Genev Peak deck. So just to speak about the Genev Peak deck against the Diogo combo deck, this is quite possibly the most well-positioned deck against the Diogo combo deck, given how many forms of negation they have between 4 Display of Instincts, 3 Swift Refusals, access to Caleb's Choice out of the market. This is a deck that is extremely well prepared for the Diogo combo deck that we see here by having no other spells in their deck besides these 2 Invoke the Waystones. When they go get their 1 copy of Diogo and play for 6, they are assuredly giving Invoke the Waystones Destiny. And then
So
when
why are they playing 2?
Well, it's in case you draw one. Yeah, you got to have a backup plan. I mean, they even have a backup plan, which is this Messenger Hawk, because if anything ever goes wrong, if you draw too many invokes, if you run out of cards in your deck, if somebody stops something you were doing, Messenger Hawk is basically your plan against everything else. I mean, Excavate gives you 1 shot. Messenger Hawk, that gives you all kinds of new ways to play. And then Celestial Omen out of the market is important because it lets you go find that Invoke the Waystones with Destiny. You Destiny through your whole deck. Go get Stonescar Excavator with 1 more merchant, and hopefully Excavator your opponent right out.
One nice thing about Celestial Omen is at least it's fast.
Yeah, I mean, not being able to be countered by Swift Refusal is like something. That's a start, but part of the equation's got to be getting some pressure down. Popotito's going to need to put some kind of a clock down because this, if you just sit around long enough, it's not like these 20 merchants can't be attacking and continuing to progress the game.
Most of them can.
Yeah, true. True. So this should be interesting. I mean, this is definitely, there's been several different combo decks that we've been seeing. I mean, obviously there's even a Reanimator deck in this event, but this one really pushes to the limit the redraw rule and some of the Eternal specific rules that are being capitalized on by having 49 power, where you're drawing all of your other cards more often. This is a very, very, very all-in combo deck.
Most people are familiar with the minimum power rule, but there's actually also a maximum power rule in Eternal. Your deck can't be more than 2/3 power, so that means in a 75-card deck, you can only play with 50 power. They're playing with 49.
Or 52 if it were Manu S's deck.
Yes. Manu S actually, interestingly enough, brought a 78-card deck to the tournament. Sometimes that happens with those privileged ranked decks. You got to find more room for all those Justice Sigils you need.
Yep. So it should be interesting. This is definitely one of the more unusual play styles that people have developed for Eternal, and it'll be exciting to see if they can actually put together a winning line through all this negation before getting clocked by all these heavy hitters in the Genev deck.
And I'm guessing, knowing how high the stakes are, that Trumpets probably did a little bit of practicing against their potential round 2 matchups, knowing how much harder they were going to be than the Rakano Valkyrie decks that they sort of metagamed by bringing this deck.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, a lot of people have been saying the primary advantage to this Diogo combo deck is just it's faster than the Rakano Valkyrie deck and sidesteps most of the Rakano Valkyrie deck's interaction. Like, most of the ways that they fight you are the wrong ways if you're packing a Diogo combo deck.
Yeah. No special market hate. So we did see Trumpets just breeze by in the first round off camera. They got past their Rakano Valkyrie's opponent. We saw Popotito win a more traditional matchup against a Huru deck, and this is going to be something a little different. I'm excited to see what happens. And, I think the thing that separates the good combo players from the great combo players is when they run into a matchup like this, one that seems like it's like all hope is lost. Maybe how do I get past this person who's playing all of these negation spells? Do they have what it takes to come up with the gritty, scrappy, weirdo backdoor plan in order to actually win what seems like a hard-to-win matchup?
Yeah, I mean, once you're at the spot of you're like, okay, am I supposed to Stone Scar Excavator for 4 and just get the party started? Let's just do it the slow, I don't know. Part of the challenge is going to be, though, how much, if the initial burst doesn't come together for you, one of the downsides of playing 49 power plus 4 Aurelia Merchants plus 4 Power Stones, that is a lot of, I mean, that's a lot of air if
Yeah.
you're trying to top deck later.
So to set up the stakes for this match, these players are 2 wins away from qualifying for the top 4 of Worlds. The winner of this match will be 1 win closer. The loser will be going to our last chance bracket. That'll be tomorrow morning. So we've only got a couple rounds left to show you today, but the upside of today is we get to show you some really high stakes matches. We're going to be going to best of 5 after this round, and these players are really close to getting to top 4, where they're going to be getting a really large share of that $100,000 prize pool.
Man, dude, why can't we play this? This is amazing, dude. If this round is anything like that last round,
Yeah, after game 2, I said I don't think we're going to see a better game than that all day, and then I think game 3 was actually better. So we want to get down, and we're going to head down right now. Here we are with the second round of the Eternal World Championships. We're in our top 8. These players are 2 wins away from being able to qualify from the top 4 tomorrow. And we see Popatito redrawing to a hand. I don't see any negation spells. They go down to 6. No negation spells in that hand either. Wow, that's the start that Trumpets needs.
now it's definitely a sign of weakness. I mean, if Popatito goes to 6, it definitely really lowers the odds that there's a negation spell, because if they're keeping 7, it kind of implicitly suggests they found one.
Popatito doing a bunch of scouting, trying to find either a smuggler or merchant for that Caleb's choice, or just find one of those swift refusals. And so far, they're whiffing.
Yeah, Ice Bolt is kind of an interesting card in this matchup, incidentally. The ability to Ice Bolt your own, your own merchant at some point could be an important part for racing. Obviously not this game, but in spots to come. It's pretty hard to use the removal spells effectively against the Diogo combo deck if all they hit are units.
So I would describe Trumpets' draw as acceptable but not great. They didn't have a Power Stone or Aurelian Merchant, so they're not comboing as fast as they could. But they have all the pieces they need, and piece number 1 was Diogo Malaga Eloans.
Right, because they're trying to find Diogo and Celestial Omen, right? Like all they need is 1 copy of each, right?
Right. And then the last piece will be getting that Stone Scar Excavator, and they have that East Annex Smuggler once they're done comboing that can get that Stone Scar Excavator.
And now, when they don't have that Power Stone or Aurelian Merchant, it's usually about a turn 7 type of situation, right? Because you've got to spend 6 on the Diogo, and then you also have to actually play the Celestial Omen.
Interestingly, Trumpets is going to play the East Annex Smuggler right now, get that Excavate. I think they're banking on the first attempt at comboing not working, so they want some insurance.
Plus, they're kind of just on some beatdown. I mean, they already saw Popatito go to 6, not put down any early pressure. I mean, this has got to be one of those things when you're actually, familiar with the Diogo combo deck, when you're actually, you have a sense of when to be just pressing the beatdown.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised Popatito hasn't fired off a torch yet. Are they just like that hoping that they can fire it at face at some point? Well, we see one finally come down and take out East Annex Smuggler. So, yeah, Popatito still got plenty of health to work with. The beats from Trumpets are definitely going to be anemic, but they are coming right now.
Right, and it's definitely a great move going after the East Annex Smuggler because of Heart of the Vault's ability to take down the Howling Peak Smuggler. If Trumpets is going to be playing this, Smuggler beatdown plan, Popatito's got at least answers to that.
So Popatito going for the out of using Heart of the Vault and drawing a cost-reduced Swift Refusal doesn't get there. So now Trumpets is really close to getting ready to go here.
Yep, with the Diogo successfully fired off, at this point, all Trumpets needs to do is stick the Celestial Omen and be on their way.
We see a Permafrost on Diogo. Popatito trying to make sure they can close this out as fast as possible, but Trumpets is only at 19.
Representing the Swift Refusal here.
So we're going to see Trumpets try to do something tricksy and wait to do it until Popatito's turn, or are they going to just fire it off?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, and Popatito, Ice Bolt doesn't do anything too constructive here.
Wow, they passed, and a display of instinct off the
gosh.
top for Popatito. The negation effect that they needed. Trumpets is going to be devastated when they watch this replay later.
See, the thing is, there's still Excavate.
They still have Excavate.
Man.
And you know what? They can always just draw the Invoke off the top of their deck. It can happen. It's
Definitely.
somewhere in their deck. It could be the next card. We don't know.
And it's definitely smart hitting the Celestial Omen instead of the Evoke because of Excavate's ability to just put the Evoke back on top of your deck.
Man, Popetito is really close to finishing this one off. They've got 11 in play. Trumpets is at 14.
By Aurelian Merchant getting another power, this does set Trumpets up to be able to excavate on the next turn and then fire off the Celestial Omen and combo again. And that's even if the Aurelian Merchant gets blocked or gets killed here.
Yeah, the extra power from the Ice Bolt won't be trivial because Trumpets is going to need enough power once they go off to be able to play the Stone Scarab Excavator and activate it. And potentially they might need the power to actually play out a Smuggler and grab the Excavator.
Definitely. I mean, here we see the no smuggle.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty reasonable line. This helps ensure you won't get killed next turn. And yeah, they don't want to put back the power or the excavate because they need to go, probably need to go power plus excavate here, I would think.
And here we see the Aurelian Merchant taking the hit, which does ensure that Trumpets has enough.
Now, Trumpets didn't play that time sigil.
Yeah, I mean, how are they going to be able to actually go off here? I guess, yeah, I don't know. That's without having a way to draw cards. Either way, with no excavate to gain 2 health.
Yeah, the excavate would have really done it.
Man. So,
It
Trumpets
slipped through their grasp.
it's right there, you know, and that's sort of the. I mean, when you represent negation power, then sometimes you're going to get that extra credit. You're going to get somebody who's giving you the benefit of the doubt there that gives you that one extra draw to try to get out of it.
Yeah. And there's no sort of like timing tells that Trumpets can employ because that Swift Refusal would only be playable if Trumpets ever played a slow spell, and they don't have any in their deck besides Invoke the Waystones.
Man, crazy game. Well, so what, if any, adjustments do you think we're going to see for Game 2?
I think if you're Trumpets, it's tough. You're in a spot now where you have to win this next one, otherwise you're going to the last chance bracket, and maybe you're a little shaken because you probably felt like you had a pretty good chance in that one. If I'm them, I just try to like get it off my mind and just clear that game out because you just got to move on to the next one.
And it was definitely, you know, smart moves. But hey, we're down to Game 2.
All right.
And we're back. Popetito definitely liking this 7. Having access to Display of Instinct is definitely a thing that was being sought. But with only 2 power, even though 1 is a crest, this is definitely a little bit of a risky keep. I mean, that's a lot of 6s for a 2-power hand.
Yeah. On Trumpet's side, I totally agree with the decision to go down to 6. I believe this is the deck that has hurt the least in the game by going down to 6 because you just need only a couple of cards to win.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're just going to keep drawing power anyway. Your deck's 57 power cards, I mean.
For sure.
Ooh, that's a great draw.
Yeah, we got a fast little draw from Trumpets. They've got both the Aurelian Merchant and the Power Stone getting them rolling, and they've got all the influence they need.
Yeah, and a second Display of Instinct is definitely a good draw, but oh, man. You want that Swift Refusal so badly, you definitely do, but at the same time, only having 3 power, it's not even a given, right? Like that you can play Display of Instinct and Swift Refusal in the same turn.
No, for sure not.
Now, is there any chance you just want to start the beatdown, or do you just accelerate the power?
I think I like getting down the Aurelian Merchant. It allows you to be able to play Diogo Elones and amplify the following turn. And 3-5 is actually the best body in the entire deck for Trumpet, so it's their best bet at actually beating down.
And here we see a real smart removal spell on the Aurelian Merchant. It's tempting to save it for a negate. However, with multiple other negates already in hand, you really just want to slow Trumpets down while you try to find power. Well, here's that Diogo, but with no more merchants, Trumpet still needs to draw either the Invoke, of course, or 1 more merchant.
Yeah, and Popetito is just really hurting right now to put any kind of clock. They are very far away. They are 3 power away from being able to play a threat, and yeah. So they're just going to Permafrost to stop any sort of beatdowns from Diogo. Seems reasonable enough.
Man, so do you even get anywhere by putting the Power Stone down, or is that just something to be held to smuggle away?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you want to go on your backup plan of Stone Scar Excavator, as you mentioned earlier, that's got to be right. And yet, Trumpets made an interesting decision earlier. With the Aurelian Merchant, I believe they put away a Smuggler, and that decision is not working out too well right now.
Man. Yeah, because
Wow, the Destiny Invoke the
Well,
Waystone
there
comes
you go.
off the top. Now, Popetito's got their choice of ways to counter this one. They're just going to go for the Swift Refusal. Not sure about that one, because that's the cheapest one.
Well, once they're at a spot where Trumpets is just drawing off the top, how many negation spells did they need to play in one turn? That said, it's going to make it difficult for them to drop a threat and have the shields up in the same turn.
So Trumpets' way to sort of get back into this one is to draw a Time Merchant or Smuggler. We see that. They now go and get Excavate, I would assume, and when they put the Invoke back on the top, it'll again have Destiny, and they'll try to be able to go off. The thing is that now Popetito knows all of this is coming. They have open deck lists. They know exactly what Trumpets is up to. How are they going to navigate closing out this game and being able to hold up Display of Instinct the whole time?
Now, is there any chance that they want to just negate it here? Yeah, I guess we see that here. Now, the downside to this line is that it does mean that Trumpets is getting... well, it doesn't even matter, though, once you're talking about a Destiny card.
So Trumpets does have one more copy of Invoke the Waystones in their deck, but it does not have Destiny because Diogo was only amplified once.
Right, and so at this point, Trumpets is going to have to do this a lot harder, right? And they pack it in.
So Trumpet is going to take their chances in the last chance bracket tomorrow. Popetito will be one of the 4 players who will be competing next round for one of the 2 top 4 slots we'll be awarding today. And yeah, so we'll see Trumpets tomorrow. Popetito we'll see in a little bit, and we're going to try to find another match. There were 4 matches going on this round, 4 people playing for their way to get to the top 4.
Yeah, and if, I got a hunch, I don't know for sure, but I got a hunch that Feln versus FJS is still going on.
Yeah, Tony G is a Stone Cold master. I'm really excited to see the Felon roast deck that they brought this weekend. They're up against FJS. So we got sort of 2 older stalwarts of the game in FJS and Felon trying to take down the sort of Arcano Valkyrie menace.
Yeah, this Feln deck is definitely a very different take on Armory than we're used to seeing out of Tony G, who plays exclusively Armory.
Yes, that was his trademark deck for many years. But it looks like we actually got a Arcano Valkyries matchup that we're going to head on down to in just a moment. So presumably the Felon FJS matchup may have finished up already. So we're going to check out Eric 9099 versus Avion on Arcano Valkyries versus Arcano Valkyries. And we've got, this is a game 3 matchup right now.
Oh, man. And with both players having access to a pretty good spread of different types of threats, what really gives you the advantage in these spots when nobody has anything on the table yet? Like, how do you swing that tempo the other way?
The 2 big plays I've seen are Siditi getting that first Curse of Provocation down, Ikaria Warcrying a thing to the top of your deck, and then Svetya Merciful Arene coming down and giving all of your Justice units +6/+6 in Aegis. Doesn't look like any of those things have happened yet, but I bet whichever player does one of those first is going to be in great shape.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is there any chance that when you just have something like Windchest Merchant or Bullet Shaper that it's just that much more likely to live? Or is it just going to keep getting picked off by the 3 damage cards?
Yeah, it's going to get picked off because these players know how critical the onslaught is. We see Avion just trying to get down 2 units to stop that from happening. I've even seen a bunch of players this weekend brought Conflagrate rather than maxing out on Defiances because they knew how important it was to ensure that their opponents didn't get that attack in before they killed.
Yeah, absolutely. Onslaught has definitely proven itself to be a very, we saw it earlier with the Manu S matchup, and here we're seeing it again. Just such an important part of the current format, both enabling and trying to deny the other person the ability to power up their cards with Onslaught.
What a big tempo turn for Eric 9999. They get to first vanquish the opposing Siditi, then play Reclaim, and then with the extra power that they get, since Reclaim puts them into play not depleted, they get to crack a treasure.
Yeah, and here, once again, seeing the power of Onslaught, and now that they've got the momentum swinging in their favor, what more is there besides the pristine light to provide the kind of tempo turnaround needed to really swing this matchup?
Yeah, this is tough. Stormhold Knife is a nice one. It comes out of the market and can be played for 0 if you're under 10 health, and it picks off a fair amount of the units in both Ikaria and in really both Ikarias. We see a Defiance is going to stun, and yeah, that interaction where Defiance got to get the Rizon from hitting, it still made an attack. So Siditi comes down and puts a Curse of Provocation on Avion.
Man, and once you're under the Siditi curse, it's definitely a lot of pressure. If you're not playing, if you're playing something pretty aggressive, it's not even a big deal. But in the case of some of these control decks or ramp decks that are so either threat light or just playing such expensive bombs, it can sometimes be hard to get out from under it, particularly if you're not playing attachment destruction.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. They have Boar in the market, but when a Siditi's come down and you're spending your turn going into my market, get a Boar, blow up a Curse of Provocation, there's still a 6/6 flyer on the other side of the board.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that, I've never thought that Boar is the best answer to the Curse of Provocation. But here we see the bigger Siditi coming down, which at least that gives Avion a sort of positional trump.
Yeah, couple options for Eric 9099 to deal with that big Siditi. They go for Vanquish, clears the way, another big attack coming in, and what are we going to see next? Wow, Roland's Intervention. That's a cool one. I wonder if that got put into the market earlier. If you haven't seen that one in a while, it can shrink an enemy unit by -3 strength, give a unit or weapon in your hand +1/+1, and the big finisher is give one of your Valkyries Aegis, and I think we're going to see that right here.
Yeah, I mean, this has just been such a great tech card. Not all the Rakano Valkyrie decks play it, but it definitely gives a powerful added dimension, their own sort of 1-power negation spell.
An extra draw thanks to Curse of Provocation, and Eric is really snowballing now. Ikaria Valkyrie Captain comes down, pulls a Justice Sigil from the deck. It'll pump up the Valkyrie Enforcer in hand up to a 4/4. And the one awkward thing about this line is that Grenadin can trade with that Red Canyon Smuggler. Eric 9099 doesn't seem to mind. Oh, interesting. The Grenadin did not block.
And now, with one last turn, it looks like that's all she wrote.
Yeah, Avion's got one more Desperate Scout. They know they don't have a Warp card. Do they flip over a Siditi? They don't. That looks like that's going to be it for them. And Eric 9099, I think one of the most accomplished players in this field, they actually qualified for the World Championships twice, is going to advance to our Final Four that will be playing for a slot in the Ultimate Top 4 tomorrow afternoon. So good for them, demonstrating their mastery of the Rakano Valkyrie Mirror. Our producer, Michael Jacob, is looking around to see if we have another match to go to. And so we'll be heading down to that shortly as we get that match set up. So Eric 9099 and Popatito are now 1 win away from clinching their spot in Sunday's Final Four.
All right, and it looks like we are on our way.
And we're here for Tony G on Felon Control versus John K. Kez on FJS. And holy moly, we got a 19-5 champion of cunning with lifesteal thanks to Diesel's office. Another champion of cunning coming down. And a Roast the Walking Glacier, which is about to emerge from being shifted. Things look rough for John K. Kez.
I knew the match was still going on. Man, so at this point, a 23-7 roast is, let me do the math. That is going to be enough if John K. Kez doesn't have an answer. And while this Ikaria is it's a bold attack, with Tony G at 55, presumably from this Champion of Cunning Diesel's Office combo. I mean, at the end of the day, it's
John K. Kez goes out with style. Stormhalt Knife attacks into the 25 strike Champion of Cunning, and Tony G locks up their spot in our last round of the day, where they'll be playing against Eric 9099 for a spot in the Final Four. That looked like that was a pretty crazy match. I'm excited to get to see what Tony G's Felon Control gets to do next round.
Cold blood.
In Cold Blood is a Justice killer. It literally killed the Justice Scion in Roland. So we'll get to see what its work gets to do next round. Is that it for the matches this round? So we've got our last round set for the day. It's going to be Tony G on Felon Control versus Eric 909 on Rakano Valkyries. And then we know we have Popatito on Genève Peaks up against an unknown opponent. We'll be finding out who that is soon enough. The great news for the viewers at home is we're going to be going to a break here in a moment. When we come back, we're going to be showing each of those matches back-to-back. They will not be going on at the same time. Those players are going to be playing for a shot at the Final Four. The stakes couldn't really be higher. $100,000 prize pool. I wouldn't want to miss any of that. For me and Patrick Chapin, we're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be back real soon.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Eternal World Championships. I'm Luis Scott Vargas, not wearing pajamas, though maybe I am, with Corey Burkhart. And we're about to watch one of our two matches that will determine half of our Final Four. So the way this works, these players have played the single elimination 8-person bracket here, or a 16-player bracket here. We've got 4 players left. The winner of each match into the top 4. They get to relax until Sunday afternoon, until tomorrow afternoon, knowing they made top 4 World Championship.
It's the dream scenario. If you win this match, you just have to win 2 more matches tomorrow, and you are the eternal world champion.
Yeah. So best 3 out of 5 match, so a little bit longer than what you're used to. Part of it, we want the players to be able to just really represent what they and their decks can do. And then, all is not lost for the loser here. The 2 players who lose their win-ins here are going to get a bye in round 1 tomorrow of the now 14-player bracket, where we will have basically a similar bracket as today and get down to our final 2.
Yeah, so just like the players that you watched earlier and all the players that were qualified, nobody's eliminated yet. Everybody gets to come back to battle tomorrow. However, you're fighting for high stakes here.
Oh, yeah.
You're fighting for a slot in the top 4, but even if you lose, you kind of get a bye to basically the top 10. You're still, in a great situation. You can still make a great run at it tomorrow.
So these players, have gotten here by being undefeated so far, and they're hoping to continue that trend. We're going to watch both these matches back to back, so consecutively. So we're not going to miss any of this winning in action. And the players are getting ready here. We're kind of getting the round started. But right now, we have kind of a mix, in this whole tournament of people playing Rakano and people playing decks they think are good against Rakano.
Yeah, that's sort of how the metagame broke out, where it seemed like the talk of the town was Rakano Valkyries, and 7 players showed up without Rakano Valkyries, and now we're down to our top 4, and it's 2 Rakano Valkyries and 2 non-Rakano Valkyries.
Which is a good conversion rate for the non-Rakano Valkyries decks.
Yeah, I mean, they're over 50% of the field, and they only represent 50% of the top 4, so we now have 2 players ready to show their stuff to say, no, I have the deck that actually defeats this, and this is what is going to turn the metagame around.
All right, and the game's ready, so let's head down and see if that's true. Alrighty, welcome to the top 4 of our Eternal World Championship. We've got Tony G on Felon Control, or maybe Felon Midrange, some mix of that, facing off against Andreas, who actually won our first Eternal Championship qualifier with Praxis tokens, now on Rakano Valkyries with recently liberated Icaria there.
Yeah, so I had the privilege of watching Tony G last round fight against one of the Ambition strategies, and Tony G's deck looked like it matched up really well against the Rakano sort of high-end threats. In Cold Blood is one of the key cards here to sort of strip away all of the Justice units from their opponent's deck. And Adrius is really going to have to be careful and calculated with how they're going to end up deploying their threats here, as the games are going to go long, but the Felon deck also has the ability to close the game out really quickly with threats like Rost and Champion of Cunning.
We also saw Royal Decree taking out Icaria, so Andreas not going to have access to that one here, though on the board here with a little Icaria and a Valkyrie Enforcer, putting a decent amount of pressure on Tony G.
Yeah, this is the exact spot that Adrius wants to be in, applying pressure, putting the Felon deck on the back foot so they're not able to deploy their really powerful 5-power cards. And really what Tony G is trying to look for now is a situation where they can break open the board. They're trying to find a spot where they can catch up on this field and then eventually get one of those powerful threats down that locks out the opposing ground forces and then really takes over the game.
See Tony G playing Wisdom of Elders instead of playing the Genève Merchant there, and then likely planning on using Annihilate on one of these Valkyries.
Yeah, I think Tony G's plan here is to slowly take out things. They know that they have the Zhou coming down in a few turns. What they're really looking for is to try to find like a Dizo's Office that can help, lifesteal up a bunch of their units once they redeploy a board here.
Still, this Auric Runehammer going to put a lot of pressure on Tony G. Clears out a blocker and lets Andreas hit for 6 here. Tony G on double in Cold Blood, but not having a very efficient turn here, regardless of what they do.
Yeah, it looks like their best bet might just be Genève Merchant for that Mirror Image, and Mirror Image, get the Genève Merchant again, and then what are you thinking about grabbing out of this market? Are we going to look at an Ice Bolt, potentially enter the Zhou down the line?
Looks like an in Cold Blood, which plays pretty softly into Auric Runehammer. That Runehammer going to get another hit in here. And Privilege of Rank, actually a solid draw. Gives you something to smuggle away with your smuggler, and also ensures that you're going to be able to play a show next turn.
Yeah, if you're an Adrius' seat, that's a pretty great draw. You're able to get down the Smuggler now. You have multiple threats at it for 8.
Whoa, and here's Svetya, 6/6 Aegis, and then basically making it so if the game goes long, Tony G can't win. All Justice units getting +6/+6 in Aegis is huge.
So what do you do here if you're in Tony G's spot? What is your way back into this game? The Black Sky Harbinger is like appealing here as it could potentially take down 2 of the threats, but you just don't have the time to really set that up.
And Tony G's going to pick up a clan tactic instead, but yeah, despite casting a bunch of In Cold Bloods, actually it looks like Tony G is just about dead here. If Tony G doesn't block, goes to 5. Not quite enough to die, but you know, very, very close. And then Svetya is going to make it. So Tony G, I just don't really see how Tony G wins a long game, or in this case, a short one.
I think Tony G agrees with you. You're going to pack it up.
Tony GG. So Andreas up a game here, but remember, it is best 3 out of 5. So Tony G has some time to recover. You know, you can lose this game, could even lose the next game, as long as you rattle off 3 in a row at the end.
You can have a game like you stumble like that, but at the end of the day, you've got 3 more you can battle through and win. You got 4 games total if you need them. I don't think Tony's worried. They've been here before. They know how this works.
Tony G, extremely experienced Eternal player, and really brought a deck that seems pretty good for this metagame, facing down against a lot of Icaria decks.
Yeah, I really love Tony's deck in this field. Has a lot of my favorite cards. Diza's Office is something that I think matches up really well against a bunch of these Icaria strategies. Potentially a little bit worried if they have to fight the Instinct deck in the finals. But
Genev Peaks does tend to have a good matchup against these Feln decks. All right, looks like the game is ready, so let's head back down. All right, Tony G leads off here, and this is a pretty solid hand. Couple removal spells, a strategize, a Genev Merchant. Could use a way to get actual card advantage, but Genev Merchant can dig up an Honor of Claws and get that going. Meanwhile, Adrius has a very slow hand, which I think it plays into Tony G's plan perfectly.
yeah, this is exactly where Tony wants to be. Tony doesn't want to be facing down, 2-drop Icaria or a Bullet Shaper coming down quickly. Tony really wants to get into the situation where they're able to play the mid-range role of getting down threats, playing multiple cards per turn, while Adrius is just kind of clunking around with, the real top-end things that the Rakano ramp deck really wants to power through into the mid-game.
Looks like a pair of Rosts here for Tony G. And let's see what cash in. This actually sets up an Honor of Claws perfectly on turn 4. And then Tony deciding, the second Rost maybe is excessive.
Once you have one, it's not like it's really likely for it to leave the game forever. I mean, when that thing dies, it's just going to get put into shift mode pretty easily here. So got an Honor of Claws here. Tony's going to try to hit some power. Awesome Fate there. You can throw away this Snowball, not super great in this matchup, or just get rid of the Jotun Hurler, either or.
Yeah, Snowball, I think one of the things it does best is knock an Aegis off before to set up a kill here.
Sure, it can do that. It can also ping off an Auric Runehammer after it's got its invulnerable hit in.
Oh, wow. This is going to be pretty rough for Tony, though. Using Bullet Shaper both as an attacker and a power generator to get Curse of Provocation onto Tony G, and that's going to lead to some extra cards for Adrius here.
Yeah, it was key there that it came down just before the Primal Waystone, so it was one turn before Tony could actually get an Aegis on their face here and prevent the curse getting played. But having multiple units in play, having multiple cheap removal spells, Tony's going to be able to prevent this curse from drawing too many cards this game. It's just a matter now of, as the Rakano Valkyries player plays one threat per turn, Tony just needs to make sure you play a threat, I play a removal, and I play a threat. Tony's just going to be put into the situation where trying to keep the board as stable as possible while also making headway and advancing their state.
Wow. Adrius got 2 damage through. Tony did not want to block the 1/4. The second Siditi, though, not quite as effective because of that face Aegis.
Yeah, and Desecrate's going to come down, take out the Siditi. Tony's got the ability to deploy another Genev Merchant here.
And just picks up an Ice Bolt. I think we're going to see Tony in a mode of just kill your stuff, attack, kill your stuff, attack. At some point, going to start deploying these Rosts, and that is going to go a long way. But Tony really playing to give Aegis no extra cards from that Curse of Provocation.
Yeah, that is sort of the mini game that is going on here. Is can Tony G deploy a removal spell on every giant flyer that Adrius plays throughout the game, and then just keep ensuring that they can attack through whatever blocker Adrius ends up happening. In this case, it's the Bullet Shaper.
Tony D deciding how bad is it to take a turn off and let Adrius get an extra card to get Ross down, and decides, no, I'm just not in for that.
Oh, interesting. Going after the Bullet Shaper, just going to remove both the threats here.
This is going to put Tony pretty vulnerable to the dragon. The show's going to come down and potentially do quite a bit of damage. Oh, without a
undepleted power.
There's no undepleted power. That's a pretty big swing.
Ooh, the Ikaria off the top. Tony G is at 12. They have done enough damage to themselves with all these Desecrates that those extra points of health that you end up losing and paying with the Desecrate do tend to add up in these games. Tony's now in that spot where they're going to throw away a unit here to prevent the Curse from drawing an extra card. They know now the Zhou's coming down because the Treasure was played last turn. Going to try to push through with some 7/7 overwhelms here. I think Tony is in a spot where if they can draw a removal spell, thinking the Zhou's coming down, that they can power through here. The Ikaria, though, is really going to make it difficult.
Yeah, this lets Aegis hit for 8, putting Tony to 4, and having to answer Ikaria, which is almost impossible to do. In fact, just like that, Aegis is going to be up 2-0 here.
Yeah. Tony G making the attack just to make sure.
I think the way this game played out, Tony may have wanted to just take a turn off earlier, play Rost. Playing all those removal spells post-Rost is almost assuredly going to get enough damage through.
Yeah, one of the problems that Tony ran into in that game was only ever having 5 strength worth of units in play.
Yeah.
If he had ever had a situation where he was actually applying more pressure than the Desecrates were dealing back to him, he could have actually started making some headway. And additionally, once it got to the point where he was playing Ice Bolts on some of the units, it just ramps Adrius straight into playing the Zhous and the Ikarias that, I mean, if you don't have the Rost down prior to all of those, Rost isn't really going to finish the job because it's not like your Found Deck's putting on enough pressure to get them down to 12 beforehand.
Right, Rost will get outmatched by Ikaria, but you could have played Rost 3 turns prior.
Exactly.
Let Adrius draw an extra card, but then count on your 3 or 4 removal spells to push through.
Yeah, I think you could have taken one hit off of one of those threats, probably the Rizon.
Yeah. And I think that or maybe even before that, I think there was potentially an opportunity, but it was a close game, and Tony G down 0-2. Time to rally here.
I mean, get your rally monkeys out, turn your hats inside out.
Yep.
You're a Tony G fan in chat. Needs to win 3 in a row here. Still got a shot.
Alrighty, looks like the game's ready, so let's take a look.
Alrighty, welcome here to game number 3. Tony G starts off with, the usual sort of action. We got a merchant going on, some card advantage. First time we're seeing Champion of Cunning in the match. Maybe that's the key to the city here. Whereas Adrius is a pretty nice hand here, being able to run out little Ikaria here and potentially ramping straight into a sea of Valkyrie Enforcers.
And Tony G unable to kill little Ikaria, which is going to make Adrius really happy. I think Adrius is going to leap at the opportunity to, first of all, buff 5 of the cards in his hand with Ikaria there, but also just get a much-needed power.
Yeah, one of the things that we usually see out of little Ikaria is it's mostly used for its ramp mode. In this Valkyrie's deck, it can certainly do some massive work buffing up all the units in your hand. Adrius really wants either like a spell to be able to discard. That'll do. That'll do nicely.
Drawing Privilege of Rank. Now you can go Bullet Shaper, discard the Privilege of Rank, and then play Valkyrie Enforcer, or you could potentially slow roll it, try to get a Rizon out, but you could just play lands, these next couple turns.
Yeah, once you discard this Privilege of Rank here and just deploy this Valkyrie Enforcer, you're able to then just play the Rizon the next turn by playing out the Justice Sigil. One of the key things here is Tony G's not going to have any number of Stray of Shadows. These players know what each other's coming with. I mean, Adrius knows that all their units are safe here, and it's mostly Tony just trying to pick them off one at a time. So Tony's plan here to try to turn the board back is getting this Champion of Cunning going and seeing if they can stabilize that way, as these Valkyrie Enforcers are out of range of these Hailstorms.
Yeah, the double Valkyrie Enforcer turn, though, is going to really nip that in the bud. First one knocks off the Aegis, second one knocks off all the abilities. now Tony G has another champion, can play another one, but still not in the best shape. Could also potentially Merchant here. All right, so it looks like Hailstorm.
Maybe Hailstorm and a Desecrate. Like, Tony's already so low on health here.
This is a rough road because Hailstorm and a Desecrate leaves Tony at essentially, what, 4? Takes 3 down to 12, then takes 8 next turn. These Rizons are going to be tough to beat, even though the Aegis protects from the first one.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is, again, Tony's deck is just set up to try to go removal spell, removal spell, removal spell, and get under these Rakano decks, and in reality, Adrius' deck just really rushed Tony out this game.
Yeah, I mean, just the... Wow. So, clean sweep here from Adrius, defeating Tony G3-0. And Adrius, our first ECQ winner, now our first top 4 finalist here at the World Championships. So, congratulations. Adrius, has a philosophy, which is just you win early and you win often.
They've got something special going on. They know the secret recipe here.
Yeah, apparently. So, congratulations to Adrius for making it to the top 4. Adrius gets to take a well-deserved break, come back tomorrow to play for the highest of stakes. Tony G, though, not out of the running, gets a bye round 1 tomorrow as we play another single elimination bracket. And, gotta feel like that, he's still in pretty good shape to make a run for it.
Yeah, Tony's not stoked with the result. Obviously, would much rather have won the match and gotten the bye into the semifinals. Totally happy with this result. If you came in today thinking, I'm going to be disappointed if I get a bye into round 2 tomorrow, I think that's a little bit unrealistic. Like, still had a 66% record today.
Still says just win 2 matches tomorrow.
Yep, still in a great spot.
So, that'll do it for this round. We've got one more elimination round coming up next. So we're going to take a short break, and then we will be back with our final round, which will determine our next top 4 competitor at Worlds. everyone, welcome back to the Eternal World Championships. I'm Luis Vargas here with Patrick Chapin, and we've got another match that will determine the second player to make top 4 today here. And once again, we're going to play a best 3 out of 5 match. Winner makes it into the top 4, gets to play tomorrow afternoon for all the glory, all the fame, all the money. And then the person who loses this match gets a bye tomorrow at the start of the day as we run another 14-person bracket to determine the rest of our top 4. So, high stakes match. These players are playing for the most that they've ever played for in a game of Eternal.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I guess we can't guarantee that. We're looking forward to it. We've got so it looks like we've got Genev Peaks here facing off against Rakano Valkyries. Rakano Valkyries was victorious against the Felon Control deck that we just saw play out, but well, we'll see if that'll be the case here as well.
Yeah, I've been digging how versatile this Genev Peaks deck is. The having the negation for the combo deck, having a big array of powerful threats, plenty of card advantage, enough interaction against the key permanents. It's kind of it's kind of like a retro. It's almost like a previous level metagame call. I mean, this is like 2 metagames ago. When you know that the primary target is this Rakano Valkyrie deck, and we're seeing a lot of standardization of this sort of deck. There's a little bit of variation here and there. Here we see kind of a techie Roland's intervention in the market. Some players going with Martyr's Chains as their top end, others with Svetya. I don't know. I'm a Svetya guy myself.
Yeah. Also, Svetya being 1 cheaper doesn't hurt either.
That's a big part of that's one of the best qualities.
Here we've got Popotito's Genev Peaks deck. We saw Popotito play round 1. Of course, seen Popotito play plenty through the ECQ victory, and then defeated fan favorite, the Invoke the Waystones Diogo deck, thanks to some timely negations in round 2. But here, what do you think about the matchup against the Rakano Valkyries deck?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one that, conventional wisdom in the past always sort of suggested that the Rakano Valkyrie deck was favored, but I could imagine that if you know everyone's playing Rakano Valkyries, maybe some of those tuning decisions have slanted back towards your direction, maybe Swift Refusal is part of the key, or maybe just having this kind of a mix of interaction. For the most part, though, this is definitely one of the decks that has suffered from the rise of Rakano Valkyries in popularity.
Alrighty, looks like the players are ready, so let's head to the match. Alrighty, welcome to Game 1 here. Reminder, this is a best 3 out of 5 match. Popotito coming out blazing here with Merchant into basically a wide array of options.
Yeah, Aurelian Merchant to find Zal Chi or a power card. In this case, I think probably just a power card to continue the ramping, but this is like a pretty good mix of interaction. The big thing Popotito needs to do, though, is get something down that actually starts progressing the game in their direction. Because if you take too long against this Rakano Valkyrie deck, it ends up, they just start dropping heavy hitter after heavy hitter. The key that we get to see here, though, is that Eric 9099 doesn't have a third power. So here, the torch on the Bullet Shaper, still very important even with Eric 9099 top decking one, because if you can slow down this Rakano Valkyrie deck, that's part of the battle. And that's actually a lot of the skill of this matchup, is knowing when to be trying to slow them down versus when to try to speed yourself up.
All right, then that Valkyrie Enforcer silencing the Aurelian Merchant's actually pretty critical, because we went from all of a sudden Popotito having 5 power to Eric's 2. Now it's 3 to 4. It has become a lot more equitable, and Eric's got a hand full of action here that, given these extra power drops, is going to be able to deploy them.
Man, and Eric 9099 drawing another power off the top. What do you think of Popotito not playing a Permafrost here? Obviously, there's the risk of another Valkyrie Enforcer silencing the one with Permafrost on it, but it just seems like it's so dangerous when they have access to Onslaught.
Yeah, this plays into Onslaught. It also does let you save your Permafrost for the bigger units when you have a Hailstorm and a Display of Instinct you're hoping. But now the turn late Permafrost, Popotito putting a high price on keeping up Display of Instinct, potentially to counter something like Privilege of Rank.
And I think part of the value there, and it was real smart of Eric 9099 playing around it, but part of the value is if Eric 9099 plays a second threat, your Hailstorm gets extra money.
And here you see Eric playing pretty conservatively too, not playing Ikaria Valkyrie Captain until Eric has 5 power, so he can play Akaria and use the ability right away.
Right, and now this means that any Akaria that gets dropped that was buffed and in the spot won't even be vulnerable to a torch. Display of Instinct still can potentially take it down, however.
Yeah, and we're just going to see Eric get value after value with these Akarias and just wait on the actual big drops until later. Probably not playing that Sadidi until you've got Onslaught. You know, maybe not playing that Akaria. Well, probably just slamming the Akaria now, actually. Akaria is pretty good.
That's a great opening salvo.
Yeah.
That's a great way to knock on the door and say hello. Eric 9099 is here.
And this gives Eric, you know, the ability to get some Warcry action going. Ooh, a Warped Heart of the Vault isn't the worst.
Particularly, I mean, that's a start, right? Like,
well, if Popotito hits looking for something a little cheaper, unfortunately. If there was a chance they could maybe interact here, but getting a second hit off Akari means you're going to have to grind through 2 Warcried, you know, units or weapons. It's going to be rough.
yeah, and this is starting to get into a really precarious position for Popotito just from a health total standpoint.
Yeah, down to 8 with a Curse of Provocation. Vanquish taking out Heart of the Vault. Sadidi plus Akaria just ready to go here, and Popotito doesn't have a lot of options.
No, I mean, Permafrost can buy a little bit of time on the Sadidi, but at the end of the day, this Akaria having the benefit of those, of the buffs from Little Akaria, definitely putting Popotito between a rock and a hard place. Man, man, I don't know. So Sandstorm Titan can at least let the Aurelia Merchant chump. And you're already well at the spot of Akaria's Warcry 15 coming.
Yeah.
You gotta just let that go. You gotta just not worry about
Yeah.
that, because if it ever comes down, it's probably gonna be rough.
I like this line from Popotito. Just play your Treasure Trove, play your Sandstorm Titan, and just hope things work out. Oh, the second torch means it will not work out. Popotito can double torch the Sandstorm Titan, fly over for 7. Could also just attack with Akaria, see what happens. Could also play Rizon. And it looks like Rizon plus torch is actually going to take out the Sandstorm Titan here.
Really benefiting from the fact that the sweeper that Popotito has access to is Hailstorm.
Yeah. All right. Eric wins a relatively fast game 1, despite getting stuck on 2 power for a little bit, drawing a stream of power and then having enough powerful Valkyries to really take over the game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely the way that the Rakano Valkyrie deck drew it up. The pacing of being patient, disciplined, some turns taking a turn off just to make sure you can play your threats at the right time so that you can get value out of everything, whether it's Rizon's summon or Akaria getting a hit in or the Curse of Provocation or Valkyrie Enforcer.
Yep. A lot of incremental value, a lot of cards that take multiple cards to answer. It really just puts the opponents in a pretty tough spot.
Yeah, plus, I mean, that's one of those spots where we just see the benefit of Little
Looks
Akaria.
like the game is ready here, so let's head back down. Alrighty, welcome to game 2. This is best 3 out of 5 match. Eric 9099 up a game here and choosing to redraw. Ooh, do you go to 6 here? I guess not. Eric just playing for the long game here.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to not have one of your early plays, but Popotito's deck is not fast. And if you know you're going to be hitting all your drops, a lot of the strategy from the Rakano side is going to be playing threats on the right turns. And this is definitely a draw that gives you access to a lot of power.
Well, I think that there's a pretty good chance Popotito is going to play such that they can snipe that Privilege of Rank with the Swift Refusal there. It's possible that it ends up not working out that way, but that is one of the best targets for Swift Refusal in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great start. And Defiance out of Eric 9099 is not at its best here. Yeah, I mean, and this is something that Beckstrom was talking about earlier, but some number of players have actually chosen to decrease the reliance on Defiance in order to play with more conflagrates. It's kind of an interesting direction the metagame's going in that direction. So will Eric 9099 bite the bullet and just privilege a rank?
You could pick a slightly more proactive line. Drawing that Winchest Merchant was pretty good for Eric, and I think pretty bad for Popotito because now Popotito left up 2 power, right? Didn't use Treasure Trove to leave up Swift Refusal. Now is going to be in a spot where they probably have to play Sandstorm Titan and there's a good chance that privilege of rank resolves.
Yeah, and in fact, here we see actually deciding to hold up the swift refusal anyway.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What do you make of taking a look first before the treasure trove?
I tend to do it in the other direction when you don't have a lot of power, because you get the information from the random draw that helps you decide whether you want to keep something on top. All right, well, Popotito set this up and finally does get the payoff here. Swift refusal counters privilege of rank, which is quite impactful here. Eric now has no more power in hand and is going to be lacking here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good play. And here we see the crucial, maintaining board, or actually establishing board advantage. Now, is there any chance that Windchest Merchant is going to need to try to set up a reclaim as a backup plan, or do you get the pristine light to try to give yourself sort of some defense?
Looks like the reclaim. I think the reclaim is a higher payoff, but I suspect it's going to be difficult to get onslaught going here. I suppose you could throw away the Windchest Merchant if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and it's tricky because you want to be able to do the reclaim and vanquish in the same turn, but this is going to be real rough with that display of instinct.
Oh yeah, Popotito didn't play a second Sandstorm Titan, and oh yeah, I think you're right. Yep, that display of instinct negates the reclaim. That took out Eric's, both of Eric's turns and 2 cards. That was a really good line, and Popotito actually keeping back that second Sandstorm Titan still, just waiting on that display of instinct.
And I think this is so smart. You haven't seen the market card yet. There's too big of a chance it's pristine light, and then it would be devastating. Now, Eric 9099 actually got Stromhalt Knife, but this is really not ending up to be a very good spot. Now that he's actually getting a little bit behind, Sandstorm Titan quite effective against the knife.
Well, this turn Eric does get to vanquish the Titan, knife down the Jotun Hurler, and potentially just play Akari. I think the odds that you could wait until 5/5 are just a little bit low at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not being able to do both the snowball and the peaks. The nice thing about the peaks here, the Caleb's Favor exacts these on the knife, but it does mean
It unlocks the snowball. It actually, Popotito really was able to wipe Eric's board there. Now Eric is in kind of the nightmare scenario for Valkyries, right? On 4 power with just Rizons and Akarias in hand, and really unable to leverage those.
Yeah, I mean, that we see the negation once again. Swift refusal, not nearly as widely played as it looks effective. I mean, it sure seems like a lot of people should be adopting that, given how powerful it is against all the big decks in the metagame.
Popotito certainly used it to good effect in all of the matches that we've watched.
So here we see the mirror image thrown away as something needed to be, but it does mean that Gun Down is still in the chamber.
And here comes the Merchant, switching out Strategize for Zalchi, and I think the writing is on the wall for Eric here. And in fact, Eric agrees. This ties up the match 1-1, and again, best 3 out of 5 match. So these players have a little ways to go, but there's been a good pair of games to start things out with.
Yeah, I mean that's what Popotito's deck is aspiring to do, is to establish any kind of a board at all, and then just nurse that advantage with the negation, a much wider selection of negation than we've seen in any of our major tournaments.
Yeah, and that has been effective, especially like you have Swift Refusal, you have Display of Instinct, and you have Smugglers for Caleb's Choice. So actually access to 3 different types of negates.
Yeah, and a lot of them. I mean, 3 Swift Refusals and 4 displays, and a lot of ways to go find that 1 Caleb's Choice. That's a lot of access to negation.
Yeah, and well, so far it's done fairly well for Popotito. Still tied 1-1. First player to 3 games here is going to go ahead and advance. So both players, I think, kind of dialed in, ready to battle.
Yeah, I wonder, man. At a certain point, are you supposed to when Popotito has 3 power up like that? Are you supposed to vanquish the Sandstorm Titan and hold the reclaim? Figuring if the vanquish gets if they can stop it, you're going to be glad you didn't throw away your Windchest Merchant.
Yeah.
And if they can't stop it, at least you've advanced the board a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable hedge, especially against so many negates in the opposing deck.
Yep. So I'm not sure if we'll see too much of an adjustment here. At the end of the day, that one was definitely partially defined by the light power draw. But how aggressively are you supposed to be redrawing into 3 power hands if you're playing Rakano Ramp?
Yeah, I don't know that you can redraw one of these hands that has, 3-power Icaria Privilege of Rank. It seems like it's really tough to throw that one away.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always the question too of Bullet Shaper and whether the whether Bullet Shapers actually gets to live long enough to like race you forward. It's definitely it's a high risk sort of ramp strategy, but
Yeah.
man, can the spikes be amazing.
Yeah, and Bullet Shaper is not going to live all that often against this Instinct deck unless you do it the turn you play it. Alrighty, Game 3 is ready. Let's get back to it. Alrighty, Popo Tito here, going second. A hand without any time. And then Eric here with, again, Privilege of Rank, Rizon, Vanquish, and a bunch of power, which you really do want the early plays, but I just don't know that you can ship those back. And Eric kept, and Popo Tito redrew to a 2-power hand, but one of them is a crest, and you're going second with Aurelian Merchant. Yeah, Popo Tito keeps this, I think, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, man, maybe I'm greedy, but man, I just want a swift refusal for Privilege of Rank or Reclaim every time. Here we see a definite to the bottom. Got to find that third power to get things really rolling. Eric, meanwhile, is going to be big into this Privilege of Rank, and then it's just going to be a process of continuing to advance. Oh, respecting the swift refusal.
Yeah, and going for potentially max value on these Granite Waystones.
It's interesting.
Oh, the Swift Refusal has been found, by the way.
Wow, once again we
So,
see...
Waiting a turn to play around Swift Refusal actually didn't work out great for Eric, and I think there's a chance Eric is going to go for it here. Swift Refusal can stop the Privilege, and then Torch can actually take out that Auric Runehammer if Eric plays that here.
Yeah, I mean, it'll get one good hit in, but at the very least, holds it anyway. I
All
like
right.
it.
Yeah, both of these players playing, I think good defensive games. Here's where we're likely to see the Auric Runehammer come out. The Valkyrie Enforcer also is a pretty good answer to the Aurelian Merchant.
Yeah, it's so crucial. Both players fighting over a power advantage. What do you think of holding the Grenade in here? I mean, it's something to eventually put in your market, of course, but is that, I guess you don't want to just throw it away the turn before Heart of the Vault, or a couple turns before Heart of the Vault power.
Yeah, I think that if you don't think the Grenadine's going to accomplish much, waiting on it doesn't seem too bad.
Man, this is like a real good spot for Heart of the Vault or Howling Peak. This is looking pretty good for Popotito.
I'm really not surprised Popotito went with Howling Peak into Gun Down the Bullet Shaper. It just plays into the power denial strategy that both these players have been, this position they've been jockeying over. And wow, yeah, Eric unable to play Rizon. Here comes Caleb's favor. All of a sudden, Popotito's going to have a Heart of the Vault in play, and it's likely going to get vanquished. But it's still going to lead to some significant advantages here.
Right, and that the Fire Sigil from Caleb's favor means the Howling Peak Smuggler is ready to go to keep it coming. I mean, the Raul Chi is not too far behind.
So here comes a vanquish. So Popotito is going to have to burn that mirror image, but it's still going to leave the Howling Peaks in play, which threatens to dump a Caleb onto the board.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to deal with the Caleb, but you also got to deal with the Zal Chi, and so that Valkyrie Enforcer at this point, potentially, actually useful against Zal Chi, but without Pristine Light, you're still going to be just so far under the gun.
Oh man, and Popotito drew a Jotun Hurler. It's a really good draw because not only does it gun down the Smuggler here, it also potentially gives you something to strategize or smuggle away.
Man, dude, I'm having flashbacks to your decks from 3 years ago, man. Like,
yeah, the Jotun Hurler has been a mainstay, and Popotito really has the initiative here. Eric is the one who's unable to play a lot of their cards. I suspect you're right. I think Zal Chi's in the running here.
Yeah, I mean, the Howling Peak's great
second.
choice too, though. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Forgot put the other copy in there. And here we see some of the strength of Howling Peak, not able to kill the Howling Peak Smuggler because of that extra 2 health.
Yep, and here comes Caleb, and then that second Howling Peak can actually gun down the Rizon here.
Man, Popotito just keeping it going. It's sort of just this almost tempo play of I'm going to do just something a little bit more efficient than yours and try to get things to a spot where I can do 2 plays in 1 turn and then just keep pressing that advantage.
Wow, Icaria, powerful draw. Can't play it yet, but Reclaim gets those 2 Justice Sigils. In comes Valkyrie Enforcer.
Yeah, and it's actually important to hit Caleb here because of the potential. I mean, draw, like, what is that, a draw 5 at least?
Yeah, and then Mirror Image also, now is a little bit less effective, though. Mirror Image copying the Smuggler, getting Zhao Qi is still going to be really good.
Definitely. I mean, Popotito definitely has Eric 9099 on the defensive. The one saving grace is that at least Icaria the Liberator has been known to swing some tempo.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the question is there any chance Popotito doesn't play the Sandstorm Titan, wanting to hold something back? Or are you just supposed to keep pressing and drop the Sandstorm Titan knowing that you still have Zhao Qi in the chamber?
I actually wouldn't mind just dropping Zhao Qi this turn. Just going for it.
I guess, how bad can it go for you?
Yeah.
You still have the 2 4/4s, plus you have Sandstorm Titan and a Merchant for leftovers.
Oh, wow. Caleb's choice. That?
Some people want to keep you off Onslaught all the way.
Oh, yeah. So this puts Popotito in still a very good spot. Icaria can't get past Sandstorm Titan. This is, kind of set 1 battles all over again. Though,
without harsh rule.
though now, the little Icaria is going to make it so big Icaria is actually big, but nope, still not going to be enough. And Eric falls to 2 losses here against Popotito, who's now up a game. And this could be the last game. If Popotito wins this game, Popotito advances to the finals here, to our top 4. Eric has to come back tomorrow with a bye, though. And, Eric still has the possibility of a comeback, but I really like how Popotito's been navigating this, putting so much of their energy into stopping Privilege of Rank. Really funny that game, Eric didn't play Privilege on 3, fearing Swift Refusal, then played it on 4, and that was the turn Popotito drew the Swift Refusal. Just funny how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of heuristics. You might want to just hold off and wait till the safest possible moment, but there's also some risk associated with that. It's possible that they'll draw the perfect answer, as we just saw here. Man, I'm a big fan. If these tweaks, if these changes are what's needed for FTP to actually pull ahead of Rakano, that's an exciting development in the metagame, because that FTP deck's got a lot of strengths and a lot of other matchups too.
For sure. And it looks like the game is ready, so let's see if this is our last game, though Eric is hoping it is not. All right, Popotito redraws to, looks like a pretty solid hand. And then Eric on 6 here with double Privilege of Rank. Uh-oh, this game is going to come down. Can Eric draw a Bullet Shaper? Can Eric draw just a 3rd power? Will Popotito find some Swift Refusals?
Yeah, it's always interesting when you're in these spots where Eric has potentially all the power in the world or no power at all, depending on if they can find a Bullet Shaper or a 3rd power to get the ball rolling. These Torches, not the best cards to be drawing in this matchup, though. I mean, this is one of the strengths of Popotito's deck, really capitalizing on just how not vulnerable to Torch they are in a field 3/4 Torches.
All right, well, Eric is going to get to land one of these Privileges of Rank, so we are going to get a game where Eric has sufficient power to play their cards, but I also think Popotito has, the possibility of a pretty early Heart of the Vault here, which is looking fairly good.
Yeah, I mean, we see Sadidi on top of Eric's deck, meaning that, you're not going to get that sweet warp value, but if you ever can stick a Curse of Provocation on Popotito, that is actually really powerful here.
All right, 2nd Aurelian Merchant, and this is, I think, Popotito backstopping them having 6 power next turn, because if you play the 2nd Merchant, even if an Auric Runehammer comes down, even if a Valkyrie Enforcer comes down, you're going to be able to land Heart of the Vault.
Yeah, and with one in the hand and one on top of the deck, finding that 3rd time power is just so important.
All right, so this is a big turn because I think that Eric really values getting the onslaught on Sadidi, so playing that Valkyrie Enforcer first helps get that going.
Also, this is interesting. By not playing one of the Heart of the Vaults, Popotito has the ability to neutralize the Valkyrie Enforcer with a Permafrost, while at the same time potentially finding whether it's Caleb's Choice, an Equivocate, or a Zhao Qi to keep the pressure going once he actually switches into attack mode.
I think given the 2 Heart of the Vaults, I'd be leaning towards one of the cheaper cards just because you already have 2, very powerful 6s. Wouldn't be surprised if it was either Caleb's Choice or Equivocate.
And Popetito being very careful, very disciplined in considering the options here. I mean, Popetito knows they got to keep Sadidi down for the most part, but when you've got a Snowball and 2 Heart of the Vaults, you do at least have some backup plans.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, the risk of playing Permafrost on the Valkyrie Enforcer, of course, is that that's one of your best answers to Sadidi himself.
Wow, so Popotito swapped away Snowball and just picked up a power.
Interesting.
All right, well, Torch hits the Smuggler, and now Eric is just going to build out their power base some more, and really doesn't think Sadidi by itself is going to do the trick.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess this is a concession to the Aurelian Merchant, which Popetito correctly read. I mean, that's what a great call on Popetito's part.
Yeah, getting that power means that Heart of the Vault hits. Things have all worked out really nicely
Such
for
a smart
Popotito,
play.
and not at random, just in large part because they anticipated what was going to happen over the next couple turns.
Man, such a smart play by Popetito. I'm impressed. That was a great play.
And then now 0 cost Permafrost, hit with the Heart of the Vault, play a second Heart of the Vault. This game is drawing to a close here. Eric needs something very quickly. One saving grace is Popetito has shown a willingness to not just drop all of their threats, but it looks like this time Popetito's just going for it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Howling Peak Smuggler in order to go find Zalchi later, it's hard to not feel like you still got at least one more in the chamber. Oof.
A warped Heart of the Vault.
Wow, and it just keeps going.
Really hard to turn down that value.
Definitely. I mean, Eric 9099's got to find a Smuggler or a Merchant really soon, because they're not going to be able to take much more of this, and Popetito's got 6 cards in the grip. I mean, we're really seeing some of that card advantage, that sweet, sweet card advantage from Jotun Hurler and Show and just Heart of the Vault.
Here comes Howling Peak Smuggler. At this point, do you just pick up Caleb's Choice to just try to lock down the game here? Do you just get a Zalchi as a backup win condition? Potentially get Equivocate?
I like getting Zalchi too much.
Yeah.
But here we see, I think Display of Instinct at 1 is just such a trump card. And these Defiances definitely just continuing to try to help Eric tread water, but I think he's just falling further and further behind.
Yeah, I don't even think I mind this Defiance happening too much. It's just not going to stop you from winning the game. It'll slow it down, but it won't stop you.
Definitely. I mean, at this point, Popetito's already just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Gem Peaks deck is trying to do, and Eric finds themselves really far behind him. Like even like an Icaria or something, I don't think really does the trick. And
I mean, it's just so hard against Popetito. Once they've got they're ahead of you and they've got a negate in hand. I mean, a lot of people have not been building decks preparing for this sort of a strategy.
Oh, the second display just equals a lot of burn here.
Man, I think this is just all she wrote.
Yep, you chump Heart of the Vault, take 9, go to 4, and then a Display of Instinct here can finish things off. Deals 5 damage here, and Popetito advances into the top 4 of our World Championship with a resounding 3-1 victory over Eric 90-99.
Awesome.
Wow, it was really a treat watching Popetito navigate those games. Like, it just really felt like they had a game plan.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been fortunate to see so much of Popetito today, and against a wide range of strategies. This seems like such a smart evolution of the archetype. Yeah. Man.
So, congrats to Popetito. Condolences to Eric, though. Eric does get a bye tomorrow, and will get to play another single elimination bracket in order to make top 4 still. We have half of our top 4 already. Andreas and Popetito get to rest on their laurels and wait to see who will join them in the rest of the top 4. Before we go, I do want to note that we're going to have some spoilers tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow. We've got our broadcast starting once again at 10 o'clock Pacific, and we will have spoilers from our next piece of content. So I'm excited to reveal those. And, we've got a lot coming up. I mentioned Organized Play resumes in August, so stay tuned for more announcements as to what that's going to look like. And until then, yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow. For Patrick Chapin, Andrew Beckstrom, Corey Burkhart, Michael Jacob, and Sam Stelter, Luis Scott Vargas, and thanks again for watching. We're going to have our next single elimination bracket tomorrow starting at 10, and then following that, the top 4 of our World Championship $100,000 prize pool, and you're not going to want to miss it. So we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.